Hey, friends, welcome back to yet another exciting episode of Friends of the Squared Circle. I'm your host, Crander Q, aka my real name. As you can see, we have our friend Ben in studio today. Now, Randy always likes to blow up my phone that I do not promote him enough on this show. Um, and reality, I'm getting tired of it. So someone needs to beat him in views so we do not have to talk about Randy. We love to hate Randy. Every time we mention my wife, Randy take a shot. We're starting out on top here. Ben, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Great. I know we talked off camera a little bit there about some things here in and out of the wrestling business, but let's just jump into it. Like, what are some of your first earliest memories?
Oh, the very first memory I ever have of pro wrestling is drilled right in here. I'm about 4 years old, and I was going downstairs to watch TV at like 4 in the morning to turn on the old. Back when they didn't have the remotes, you had to turn the
Hmm.
dial, right? So turn the dial and turn it on to NBC, and it was a replay of Saturday night's main event. And it was the replay of WrestleMania 3
Okay.
and Hogan slamming Andre. And at 4 years old, in my underwear, sitting there on my knees, looking up at the TV, uh, there it was, the most memorable moment in professional wrestling history, and I was done. You could have stuck a fork in me right there. That was it. It was from that moment on. It was like I needed to know more. I had to see more, and then luckily for me, I watched Saturday morning cartoons,
Okay.
and as I grew up as a kid, Saturday morning cartoons was always followed by WWF Superstars, and so I grew up in a weird portion where it was like you could go to the grocery store and rent VHS tapes. This used to be a
Yep.
thing. A lot of
Yep.
kids they're like, "What the heck are you talking about?" No, it was like you could actually rent videotapes at the grocery store. And so I remember, me and my sisters renting, pooling our good old chore money together and getting what was it, Three Ninjas? Uh,
Yes.
yes, right.
Classic.
Three Ninjas. Um, what was the other one? Last Action Hero.
Okay. Great
And
Arnold Schwarzenegger movie there.
yep. And dude, the guy with the eye. And then SummerSlam '88, and it
Okay.
was the teaming of the Mega Powers. And there's
Okay.
Hogan and Savage and Liz and the whole thing, and Jesse Ventura as the ref, and so it was, so I grew up very much just a normal little Hulkamaniac. It was very Hulk Hogan was my guy. It was America and love and peace, and I cried when he lost to the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 6. It broke my
Okay.
heart because it was, you know, I think we all can still agree that the wrong guy won. And anyways,
You're probably the first one I've ever heard say that, but continue. Yep.
the wrong guy won. Dude, when they pan and they just follow Hogan on the trolley, I'm like, oh, you just kind of watch it. Like, why are we looking at the guy who lost? Like, the dude's in the ring with both the belts, but we're looking at the dude who lost. That's how you know the wrong guy won. Um, but you go from that, and then the greatest thing happened. I got the WWF magazine subscription
Okay.
uh, as my birthday present every year from my grandma. And so every year she would just renew my subscription, and I would get my subscription. And then my mom eventually took over, and then that was part of my Christmas present. And every year was I got the WWF magazine every single month, and kept all the collection and everything. And in 1993, I got to go to my very first event in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, at the Field House right before WrestleMania 10. And
Okay.
the main event was the 1-2-3 Kid and Bret the Hitman Hart
Oh wow.
against Shawn Michaels and Owen Hart. And
Wow.
it was before the Owen Brett WrestleMania 10 match. And I actually met Brett years and years later. And when I met him, I mentioned that match. And he actually remembered. And I don't know if he was trying to be nice to me or not, but I really believe him that he was telling the truth. He said he remembered that match because it was the only match that him and Owen ever did anything before WrestleMania 10. Because they
Oh,
were
okay.
trying to do all the stuff on the house shows to figure out what would work at Madison Square Garden. So
Hmm.
they would use the house shows to do these tag matches where they little tiny bit and then they get right out of there, and they would barely touch, but it would be like one little sequence or segment. And
Hmm.
and so like the one in my match was the in my opinion the iconic opening chain wrestling with them, where
Okay.
he does the arm wringer, and Owen does the flip over and then flips up and then pulls Brett down by the hair, and they did
Gotcha.
that in points. And I'll never forget the finish was Big Schmaz tags happened. Brett gets Sean in the sharpshooter. Owen comes to break it up, and the 1-2-3 kid jumps over the sharpshooter with a karate kick, hitting Owen, and they both bounce off of each other over top of the sharpshooter, not touching Brett or Sean, and they fell away, and Sean tapped, and that was the finish. It was pretty. And I remember that happening, and Bret Hart winning, and he's up on the ropes doing the thing, and I looked up on my dad at the field house, and I said, I'm going to do this someday. And I'll never forget it. And it was just I remember the shirt I wore. I dressed up. I was like, it felt like an honor. So I had this button up, like no lie, I had this button up shirt that was teal and navy blue stripes. Very 90s. And I literally made my mom get me my like church dress pants, and I wore those with my church shoes, and I felt it was almost like going to a job interview. Like I need to show up and look my best if I'm going to be a fan of this in person, and it meant so much. And so I just remember telling my dad that, and then I was hooked, and I was and Brett was always my guy.
Okay.
I mean, somebody who could I could give you a little tour ski here. So
nice.
yeah, so Brett was always my guy. He was just somebody who can make you tap out and make you say I quit and wears pink. Who's tougher than that guy?
Right.
Like who beats the guy who can pull off wearing pink and can still kick your butt?
I mean, yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yep, and just his matches were, Bulldog '92. I always think one that always gets forgotten, but is such a great match is him and the 1-2-3 Kid for the WWF Championship on Monday Night Raw in '93. It was baby, and it was they had this finish where Brett won, but the kid's foot was on the ropes, and Brett waved it off and was like this true champion of like, no, I'm not winning that way. I'm not going to win by a technicality. If I'm going to beat him, I'm going to beat him. And then they restart the match, and of course the first thing they did was have the 1-2-3 Kid 2.5 count Brett like 6 times immediately after. To really make you think like, oh my God, now he's gonna lose it when he could have won and left. Now he's gonna lose. And they had this great match, and Brett wound up winning. And it was the first one of the first times I think he always caught it became a move that he would do later in his career, but he would always catch the guy with the missile drop kick and catch his feet, and then there's the sharpshooter, and then it was over. But yeah, watching that, and then just all those matches, his stuff with Austin was always great. I always think Bret Hart never got enough credit because he made Austin. Like everybody says,
I can agree there.
Vince and Sean, and they say this guy and that guy and Hunter, and no, Bret Hart made Stone Cold Steve Austin. There is no other guy on that roster at that time, not even Sean, that could have worked with Austin and made him the way Bret Hart made him. There's just think about it. Here's the one guy who comes in and disrespects the most respected gunslinger in town. And he doesn't give a crap, and it doesn't matter to him that this hero of and champion of people is like the good guy. If anything, he hates that guy because that guy's the problem because he's soft, and he plays it by the book when he could just win and be decisive. And he's what's wrong with the wrestling, and he's it's Austin's way or the highway kind of a thing. And I always thought that was great. And people like to look at King of the Ring with Austin, but like King of the Ring was great, but even Austin will tell you that like, when him and Brett worked Survivor Series in the Garden, that was, and I stole that finish. That's probably my favorite finish. Brett had done it with Piper at 8 earlier, but that's still like my all-time favorite finish. Is the you guys got you in the sleeper hold, run up the ropes and do it, and many a match I have won using that maneuver. But it's just so watching Brett stuff was always so great. And another one, and it sucks because it's the guy who we can't talk about. But the Owen Hart tribute match in WCW was easily the best thing he ever did there. Some people like to look at the Mayhem tournament when he won the title. It was good, but it felt a little like a little too on the nose, like a little too it was like blueprinted out, like, and of course this is who's going to win it in Canada. But when you look at that Owen Hart tribute match in Kansas City, it's you got to remember this guy's 41 years old doing that. Like it blows your mind. And he's, you always wonder like what would have happened if I always as a fan think like what would happen if he stayed. Think of all the matches we could have gotten. We
Right.
could have we could have Bret Hart and Eddie Guerrero.
Yes.
We could have Bret Hart and Kurt Angle. We could have Bret and Brock.
Oh,
The
yeah.
technician versus the monster. Like
Never thought
Brock's
of that
great.
one. Yep.
Brock's great. You're absolutely right. But what happens if Bret wrapped that leg around the ring post and put the figure 4 on it? And then from that on, well, then what does Brock do? Things like that would have been, to think about that too. Shawn doesn't get hurt at Royal Rumble probably then because he's probably not working Taker. Now you have Shawn and Bret yet. And the what if fandom in me always goes crazy with that stuff because it could go anywhere. But then growing from there is, I took a break from wrestling for a little bit. I'll freely admit it. The Montreal Screwjob messed me up. Like that was my guy. Okay. That was my guy. I was so angry. I think I didn't watch wrestling for almost a year. I think and then the worst thing happens is like you turn it back on after a year. You just get back into it, and then Owen died.
Yeah.
And it was just like, you've got to be kidding me. And but then again, like kind of fell out of love. I don't want to say fell out of love with wrestling, but just kind of went dormant with it. Just, went to college, did some other things.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I finally got back into wrestling again, it was like 02, 03.
Okay.
It was like pretty much everything after the invasion angle. I pretty much just dipped out. I didn't really watch. So I didn't really see the whole like Austin heel run and things like that. And there wasn't a lot of like what stuff for me for the Austin character. But then getting back to it in 02 and I'll freely admit, like I was such a fan of Shawn Michaels in the comeback tour. Like the comeback Shawn Michaels, in my opinion, will always be better than the original. Just because that's the guy that, they proved it. I think if you look it up, there's a crazy stat. Brock Hall would know this. But it's like Shawn has like 14 pay-per-views or something like that in heavyweight championship matches, and he's 1 in 14 or 1 in 13 or something like that. But it's like you look at them and they're like, man, like they still told the story to where it was like, it's got to be Shawn's night, right? Like it's Royal Rumble, last man standing. This has to be it, right? They're never going to do it. It's right before WrestleMania. And you didn't know. So you had to watch because you didn't know. And then you look at 20 and you're like, well, why would they put Shawn in with Chris and with Hunter if they weren't going to put it on him? Like this has to be the thing. They're going to put it on him. And they would just tease you. And then, of course, the one time he did win the world title was the Elimination Chamber. And who the heck saw that? But when I took the hiatus from like WWE wrestling, that's when I found like the best, some of the best stuff I ever saw, and that's ECW.
Okay.
I kind of fell out of love after the screw job, and then my buddy brought over a tape, and I'll never forget it. My buddy and his cousin brought over a tape, and it was Living Dangerously '99. And the first thing I ever saw of ECW was I popped in the tape, and it was Jerry Lynn and Rob Van Dam. Oh. And I was floored. I felt like the guy who thought he was Picasso and realized he can only draw stick figures. Like, I felt very dumb. Like, I don't know what anything is because I don't know what any of this is. And then just watching the crazy mind of Paul Heyman for a few shows and just the limits that were pushed and the audacity of it all. And but I was an RVD guy. Like after the whole Brett thing, it was just like Rob was my dude. Like it's just like, here's this guy. He looks good. He's athletic as hell. He's cool. He's got this swagger about him that's just like, I don't give a damn. Like if you want to get in the way, you're gonna be the problem. And I'll always say it. And I don't think it'll ever get enough credit. But in the modern era, if you're going back to like some people did like judge where the modern era is. Some people say it's 2000 to now. Some people say it's 1990 to now. I consider it to be 90 to like basically like 94, 95 with the new generation to now is kind of like the new generation is kind of like the new 80s now for us. Like how the 80s was for us as kids, the 70s was like that archaic stuff. In the 60s, we couldn't even think about what that was like. Now I think for kids, it's like, the 80s is so archaic and the 70s they can't even think about, and the 90s they can barely, for them the 90s is kind of like where things change, because when you start saying Stone Cold, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, that's where they pick up much more than Macho Man, Jake Roberts, Honky Tonk, Hogan. You know, they kind of, it veers much more towards the first of the two. And so because of that, you know, too many people forget about all the great stuff that happened in those eras. And so, like, to watch the RVD stuff and to go back to that, and it'll never get enough credit, but his title run with the television championship, I mean, it wasn't just beating guys. It was Roman Reigns beating guys before Roman Reigns was beating guys. Like, you watch that RVD, if you ever get a chance to, like, go through that library, just check out some of those pay-per-views, the stuff with Bam Bam, anything with Pitbulls, any stuff with Triple Threat. I mean, anything with Sabu. I mean, there's, take your pick. Jerry Lynn, the trilogy with Jerry Lynn. I mean, there's so many things to pick from Rob's run there. But when you look at that television title run, I mean, the dude was winning other titles while still holding on to that thing. You know, like, and the television title, the reason that you got to understand, like, this was such a big deal is, you know, Bret Hart broke a lot of barriers by the Intercontinental title, you know, main eventing SummerSlam, because that was unheard of. Like, you can remember as being a kid, I think we're pretty close to the same age.
Yep.
The world title was last from 1985 on. The world title was last when Hogan got that belt. From the time Hulkamania started until it ended, the last match on the card was the world title. Hogan made sure. Then you get to SummerSlam and they go to Wembley, and yeah, they do it for the Bulldog, because, I mean, why wouldn't you? I mean,
right.
Don't overthink things, you know. If you were in America, Hogan, I mean, let's be honest, if SummerSlam 92 would have been in the States, Bret and Bulldog would have never been on last. It would have totally been Warrior and Savage. Anywhere else in the world, it would have been Warrior Savage over Bret and Bulldog. But that match went on last. And that broke, just remember, that broke precedence, you know, because like, here's the Intercontinental Championship, not the world title, not the main guy. And it's on last. And not only is it on last, they're going 30, you know, like, they're doing this epic barn burner. And a fun story I learned, I don't know if you know this, but have you heard the story about Davey in that show? So he was massively hungover. Davey had went out drinking the night before with the Road Warriors and Andre the Giant.
Oh, jeez.
And they kept him out all night. And I know this because you can watch it on a bunch of podcasts with Brett and the other guys, but I also was told the story from Animal. And you know, Davey got to the show that day, and Brett was like, "What are you doing, man?" And Davey was like, "Oh, just, you know, just too excited, too much drinking, like, this sucks." And so as they're getting closer and closer, like, Davey's just kind of dragging, and finally Brett just said, "To hell with it, we'll call it out there." And and then that's what happened. And they did the deal, and it was, you know, you watched that match, and it was a phenomenal match, and it was ridiculous and awesome. And yeah, so but you go back to take that back to Rob, you know, now you're looking at, here's a guy doing multiple pay-per-views in a row, and he's on last, and it's the mid-card title. It's not the world title. It's not the heavyweight championship of the world. It's not the big, you know, it's not the big, you know, same two guys, as you like to attest. And there it is, and this guy's just delivering, and it just was like, you know, I always look at that in awe, because it was like, it didn't matter who wrestled him, it was going to be great. And that changed then. And then when he went to WWE, then I was like, oh my God, that's my guy. And you know, and just to watch him, and you know, he was my pick for Elimination Chamber. I was really thinking that was going to be the time. I thought, man, if you're going to put it on one of the guys that's kind of unknown, like the Booker T, because I thought, like, I was for sure they were going to dark horse it. I really thought Booker T or Rob, because that way they would progress the story with Shawn, and Jericho was a tag champion, so you knew that wasn't going to happen. And Hunter and Shawn would have stayed together, so those three guys all get out of the way. And Kane was just thrown in there to be the monster guy, so, like, you know, that was like, Kane would go on his way. And so I really thought it was going to be between Booker and Rob. So when Shawn won, even I was like, oh damn, that's awesome. But yeah, man, and then As you grow older, you just kind of watch wrestling with the kids and see what the kids
Mhm.
like. And my son, is in wrestling now, and he grew up watching it, and so to kind of like get into his taste of stuff, he got really big into Ring of Honor, and he was a big Briscoes
Okay.
guy. Love the
Gotcha. Gotcha.
yeah, Jay and the Briscoes there. That was his dudes. He got a picture with him at an ROH show that we did together.
Very nice.
And he's got the Dem Boy shirt yet, and his mom got heaven forbid his mom got bleach on it, and he's like,
Uh-oh.
nope, I'm still wearing it, I don't care. He's got
Well,
this
that's good.
he's got this bleached out like orange and brown Dem Boy shirt, and he wears it all the time, he doesn't care. But yeah, kind of watching, like, he kind of got into Ring of Honor, and yeah, but that's kind of like, and I was a fan. I'm a collector. I like to think of myself as very eclectic. I like a little bit of everything. I love watching, European wrestling. One PW right now is phenomenal in England. If anybody ever wants to check that out, it's on the Premier Streaming Network. You can look at it there. But man, cheap plug. But no, it is phenomenal. They have great wrestling. Will Ospreay just won their world title.
Okay.
They got a really deep tag division, and it's just the production is, I mean, top notch. It's literally on par with anything done in the States besides WWE and AEW, because billions of dollars. Um, but no, I like old school stuff. I've been lucky enough to wrestle in Japan a few times.
Okay.
I love Japanese wrestling. Anything. Sema is one of my favorites. Taka Michinoku is one of my favorite. I love Taka Michinoku. If you ever get a chance to watch Taka Japanese stuff, of course, Kota Ibushi, Fujinami. Oh God, the list goes on and on. Kenta, Baba, freaking. Anoki. I was so ridiculously honored and lucky enough to share a locker room with Minoru Suzuki, like a private locker room. It was like the Americans and Minoru Suzuki, and so it was a very awkward pairing. But to watch that man prep and just to see him work, I mean, he did 40 minutes that night that I was there.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
Oh, it's just this epic encounter. And so they have literally, hands down, this little bias, they have the best female wrestling I've ever seen in my life. I watched a girls match there in Gotta Move Wrestling because I had done a show, and what they do in Japan is they put one ring up, and then four
Okay.
different companies come and use it throughout the day. So
Oh,
like
okay.
10 o'clock.
Okay.
So like if we were to do it in Wisconsin, it'd be like 10 o'clock, Frontline Pro, noon. Screw it, I'll say I'm ACW. 2 o'clock, GLCW. 4 o'clock is Mondo Lucha. And 5 o'clock is WPW. And 6 o'clock is, BCW, whatever. So but it's all in the same room. And the fans have to buy separate tickets for all of these. And they have all their own cast of wrestlers. So like the one wrestlers clean everything up and they leave. And then the next grouping come in, and only certain people do all 4 shows, or a couple of them. Not everybody does them, and then not all the shows are the same. And so, anyways, yeah. So to watch this Gotta Move Wrestling, it's the craziest thing, man. They come out and they do this singing, dancing number in matching outfits. All the girl wrestlers do, and they do this whole like presentation, and then they get done, and they square off with each other, like, and this is the fight you're gonna see, and it's like, it's almost like the versus thing on the on the Mortal Kombat screen or whatever, right? And so they do their little thing, and they kind of do their poses, and they walk off, and then the show happens. And man, I watched these two girls go 37 minutes. I saw one give the other one a knuckle to knuckle under the armpit Northern Light suplex off the top, and it wasn't the finish. The finish was the girl went to charge at the other one, and the girl hit her with a headlock takeover, put it in a headlock, grabbed her forearm like this, and leaned forward, and the other girl tapped out to a headlock. After 37 minutes, she lost to a headlock. It was the damnedest thing I ever saw.
Yeah,
like tapped out to it, like she had exhausted all of her energy. So still the best damn women's match I've ever seen.
I mean, Io Sky, Asuka, those girls.
Yeah.
Whew.
Man,
I'm sure they could mix it up with some of the men today and just tear it down.
Oh, one of the, I mean, there's a female wrestler out in Japan who's awesome. Her name is Hibiscus Me, and I had the opportunity to work on her 6-man tag, and She blew me up, and I'll admit that. I don't mind. One, she blew me up. I think she did it on purpose. And two, she broke me twice in the match and just made me laugh. I couldn't help it. Like, I'm gonna go hit her because I'm like on the bad guy team, and she's all like, "But we're friends," and I was like, and I just broke because it's like, who says no? Don't hit me, but we're friends. Like, I think I hit her with like a drop toe hold, and she was holding her face, and she looks up and she's like, "But we're friends," and she puts her hand out, and I just keep geeking out laughing because like nobody's telling me let's be friends, but we are friends, and like whatever. So just yeah, but no, there's phenomenal wrestling out there, and just you go to Mexico, you look at CMML and everything Conan's done, and in AAA, and I mean, there's phenomenal talent out there, and Canada's still got epic wrestling. I think it's really cool what Bret Hart's kids are doing up in Calgary. I think a lot of people need to start looking there and kind of taking notice what Blade and who's the other one? Dallas, Brett's sons. They need to look at what Blade and Dallas are doing with that company. I mean, they're doing the Cow Palace there and stuff, and they're freaking, they're putting 10,000 people in seats and 5,000 people, 2,000 people. Yeah, they just had their big super show, and it was like, I mean, and then they have their smaller bar shows, and but even their smaller like almost like bar show esque things are doing like almost 1,000. They're turning people away at the door, and they just got a really good lineup. CWE is really good up in Winnipeg. I don't know, Danny Duggan's been running that for years.
I was just gonna say Danny Duggan.
Yep,
just heard him on something he was bragging about up there, and not coming back for the States for a while.
Yeah, I really enjoyed working with him up there, and he does a great job. Danny's a true pro, like an excellent businessman. And yeah, man. So like, just wrestling's all over the place. So I'm a collector. I like a little bit of old school. I love Coliseum Home Video because I grew up on Coliseum Home Video.
Okay. Yep.
So the Hulkamania 1, 2, 3, 4. I have all of them. Nice. And then the best thing that can happen to a wrestling fan is to become a professional wrestler, because then you meet everybody who has all the stuff.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to meet Dustin, the DVD guy, we call him, still affectionately known by that moniker in the Milwaukee area to this day. And Dustin, the DVD guy, got you all the bootleg crap that nobody else could get you. You wanted the G1 Climax tournament, you got it. You wanted Super J Cup, he could get it. You wanted Tournament of Death down in Mexico, not an issue. He would always find stuff, and then he'd find these awesome collections. I think one of them I bought. I spent like $40. It was ridiculous, but it was like 12 discs, and it's the entire library of Sean and Brett from every time they touched, from the Rockers versus Hart Foundation days to Montreal.
Like, nice.
Everything.
He's a vendor at some of the local shows, right?
Yeah. He's very limited now, though. He doesn't do very much anymore.
He had a Goldust and Undertaker Mankind thing, and I was like, I don't want to blow my whole load of money.
And it's hard, though. He gets the
It's like $50, and it's like I have 80 with me, and I still have to meet everybody. But yeah, that saga and those characters all meshed in one, man. Oh. Yeah, I met him a few times at some local shows here then. Yep.
Yeah, but that's the best stuff, man, is you get all that. Like, I think the other one I got was Owen and Brett. And there was like the best tag matches in 1994. And like somebody scoured the internet for these like amazingly epic tag matches from around the world. Guys you've never even heard of. And yeah, man, I think that's what I like. One of the other things I like is I like watching all the unknowns people don't remember. Pistol Pez Watley is one of my favorites. Al Madrill from WCCW down in Dallas is really great. Jesse Barr, Mike Graham. I mean, they're just. Jesse Barr and Mike Graham had one of the best Starrcade matches of all time. By the way, nobody ever talks about it, but I think it's like Starrcade 2: The Gathering, and it's Jesse Barr and Mike Graham for the Florida Championship Wrestling title. And it is the coolest opening you will ever see, because it's a good guy chaining a bad guy, and the bad guy doesn't cheat except to get the advantage. Otherwise, he's hitting all the same moves as the good guy. He's just cheating in the transitions, and it's the coolest damn thing. And I never seen anything like it until I found it like a few years back. And I stole, like, I freely admit I steal so much from the past, because I'm like, people always say like, oh wow, you got it's really cool ideas. Nope, I just watch a lot of TV. That's I don't like to take credit for none of that. It's all just I watch a lot of TV.
Yeah, and that's how you also learn. I mean, you learn things just like when I watch other podcasts. I'm taking things that I, learn from there, slowly getting better, and hopefully eventually getting more production in this. But for right now, it is what it is. But yeah,
So who's your favorite?
uh,
Who's your man?
my favorite wrestlers. I'm a huge Rhodes family guy. Dustin is my number one.
Okay.
And then a local guy here out of Superior. I'm not from Superior, but he is Otis back there. I met
Okay.
him. Let's see, twice. Once I crashed his mom's birthday party. I know you're new to the Friends of the Squared Circle here. I accidentally crashed his mom's birthday party. The fan became the better of me that day. When he was in NXT, he came walking through during Christmas when I was at work, and I got a picture with him. And then probably Eddie Guerrero is up there in my lore. Daniel Bryan, huge
Mhm.
Daniel Bryan guy. That's why I used to grow up. The beard was for Daniel back then. And then, Minneapolis' own Darren, Eric, and Davari. Those are my guys,
Oh, Davari.
Um,
Arya. I think I had Arya's like second or third match.
okay.
Because I remember when Dysfunction brought him in for ICW, and he was so small then. He was so tiny.
Mhm.
He was really little at one point. He's gonna hate that I'm saying any of this, but Arya was like very little. He was like real small, and just came in here to just this young kid, and but he was just the best. I think some of the funnest, dumbest stuff I've ever done is pretty much with him. And Sean's not much better. Uh, they both know how to have a great time, and then you put
Yeah.
them together with the Wisconsin crew that we had at the time. It wasn't a good mix. I mean, it was as far as good times go.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But no, those are great guys. Daniel Bryan's totally on my list of like, if you could ever get one more dream match with like a high profile guy, who would it be?
Mhm.
Like him, Chris Sabin, who still, in my opinion, doesn't get enough credit because he's just, dude, he's so good. It hurts. But I'd love it. Like, if I had a Mount Rushmore of who I would dream to work with, it'd be Daniel Bryan, Chris Sabin, probably uh, Darby Allen. I could
Okay.
see. Like, I would really love to. It's just. I've worked skits before, so it's like working
Skits. Yeah.
Darby kind of
Yeah.
feels like it would be a little. I mean, I feel like it would be a little more of a car crash as far as impact, but I mean,
Mhm.
I still think that would be really cool. And then honestly, Montez Ford. I would love to
Oh
wrestle
yeah,
Montez
Montez,
Ford.
man. Oh,
Let me. Can we call it right now on this podcast? We're gonna call it, you and me, right now.
okay.
Montez Ford is going to be the WWE World Heavyweight Champion at some point in his career. I
I like
guarantee
it.
it. He is too good. He's
Mhm.
easily the Sean of that team with Dawkins. I'm sorry, Sean is like Dawkins is Marty. Like it is what it is. Even though he looks great, by the way, though, like Dawkins really got his crap together
Yes.
last
Yeah.
year. Looks phenomenal. But no, Montez, man, that guy is just. He's just. I think that's just Hunter like holding the trigger right here like this, just be like, not yet, but soon, soon.
That elimination chamber match with him. Oh my gosh! Like it was a
Was that
wild
not a
ride.
coming out party?
That was amazing. It
He
was.
had a phenomenal match against
Mhm.
Seth Rollins almost a year and a half before that on
Yeah.
Raw. I put it up on my Facebook. I said, just watch Banger of the Night. And I mean, Rollins was awesome, and they went like 22, and it
Yeah.
was so good. And
Honestly, that could be a feud. That's that one that's an Orton Cena.
dude,
You
you know who
know.
could do big business with him if they ever turn Montez heel as like the swaggiest swag man of
Mhm.
all time, to steal that line from Jared Jacks. Him and Cody could do big money.
That too. Yeah, I can
Him
see
and
that.
Cody could do. Also, right now, favorite wrestler at the moment, Cody Rhodes. Last 3 years,
Mhm.
and actually last four. I think I liked Cody on the independents and ROH and stuff, but when he went to like his AEW stuff made me such a fan, because here's a guy who can give himself the key to the kingdom anytime he wants.
Mhm.
You know that it was in the very beginning of that he could have just went to Tony and said, "Hey man, I'm gonna really need to have to pick up that title." Like gonna really
Yeah.
need that. And I don't think Tony Khan would have said no. I really don't. So then, for him to go there and do all that for that company, and then the fans turned on him. And
Yeah.
then what's you want to talk about an epic story? What ultimate revenge can you get against the fans by sticking it to them? Fine, you didn't appreciate me. I'm going north. Guess what? Massive pop, 90,000 people, WrestleMania.
Mega
And
star on top of it now. Yep.
yeah, Jacksonville. Who? I think that's what Cody was thinking when his smoke went off and he came up out of that WrestleMania stage. Um, but no, he's phenomenal. I think he's the total package. I love that they're keeping him with Brock. I love that they're slow burning it. I personally think it's him and Roman at WrestleMania 40. I really
I'm cool
do.
with that. Yeah.
I don't see anything else. I think he beats Roman there at 40, because the only reason I think he doesn't beat Roman at 40 is if they're just going to say the hell with it and they're going to have Roman break Bruno's, and it's going to be 8 years. And I know that sounds crazy, but you know what? A year sounded crazy 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 years sounded crazy 3 months ago. And now we're at almost 1,000 days, and nobody or their mother thought we would get to this point.
Yep.
Think about it. The man's 30 days away from passing, or 40 days away from passing Pedro Morales for 4th all time on the list.
Very nice.
That's insane. And everybody after Pedro is 2,000 days or more, because it's Backlund, Hogan, and Bruno. So literally, it's the last. It's like the last guy to get to before the big numbers.
Yeah. And it's so funny. I love being a wrestling fan, but I hate other wrestling fans because they want everything so quickly. Like, oh, Roman's been here for a month. Time to get a new champion. So-and-so needs to be champion. Like, why do they need to be champion? Like, I always say, like, just because you were champion in the independents, or NXT does not mean that you deserve a title match or title opportunity in WWE. Like, everybody has their roles to play, and it's just like the Becky Lynch thing. I go back to that a lot, where she squashed Bianca in 27 seconds. The internet came unglued about how Bianca was buried. I hate that word as well, because us wrestling fans use it so much. They say that people don't get used right. But now, if you look at it, when they came back to SummerSlam the following year, look how excited everybody was for that match. They built a program so that they could have video packages from a year ago saying the last time these two met. I know I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I'm smarter than the average bear. I'm a huge Yogi fan. But, it's just, if they just let things develop, the payoff is going to be so great. And like you said with this Roman Reigns thing, we lost him there for a second. There he is. It's probably our internet. It's all good. I just figured you didn't want to hear me talk. Most people don't. But I'm excited. Every time I see Roman, I'm like, what are they going to do next? And now that they're doing this tag team thing,
I think they're going to win them.
I hope they do. I hope they do.
And it's so crazy to see. Like, I knew, like, I'm very lucky. I know a lot of people who bring in a lot of people, and Dave had brought in Solo when he was wrestling as Sefa Fatu yet.
Okay.
I was actually supposed to work Sefa. Unfortunately, it never worked out. I think I actually broke my leg when that was supposed to go down against Logan. But yeah. So, anyways, to see where he was then to see where he is now is wild. I think Solo is going to be. I think he's a long time guy. I think they're building him the way. I think last night was kind of almost like Friday night was almost like the Usos passing the torch to him to be like the new right hand man instead of the Usos being the right hand man. You know what I mean? That's what that felt like. And I do think Roman and him win them, which is ridiculous, but I think they do. Because why not? Like, if you're going to make Roman Thanos, make him Thanos. Like why wouldn't you? I think it almost becomes a question of who's safe. Like, if you got gold around your waist, you ain't safe. And I think that would be cool. But I am excited. I think Seth Rollins wins the world title at
okay. Yep. That'd be fine. Yeah.
I just don't see AJ getting drafted to SmackDown and then winning the title and going to Raw. Now, if they did that, huge AJ Styles fan. Greatest match I ever saw in my life personally was AJ and Kyle O'Reilly up at the Paps or the Turner Hall, right across from the Pfizer in Milwaukee.
Okay.
Dude, O'Reilly put the armbar on him, and he got up out of the armbar, picked him up, and hooked him for the Styles Clash, and hit the Styles Clash on him while still having the armbar applied.
Oh, jeez.
And that was the finish. And he beat him. And like O'Reilly is getting pinned, still holding his arm like this, passed out from being knocked out as he's getting pinned. And it's just like the coolest, most like
very nice
epic moment. But no, I think AJ would be great. I don't know. I almost feel like AJ's in Shawn Michaels territory now, where you don't got to give him the belt. You know, him being there is the win. Him being awesome is the win. Seth Rollins, on the other hand, I mean, Seth Rollins. I mean, if you're looking top 3 right now, it's Seth, Cody, and Roman, right? Like,
yeah.
I don't know who else you put in that third spot. I mean, I don't think it's Riddle or Lashley or anybody like that. I mean, Brock, not really.
Brock's just there for the big moments, which I'm cool with too.
No, I definitely think the top 3 are those guys. I think if you're looking at being a world champion, I think you go between those 3 dudes, and the fact that you have 2 of them going for the world. I mean, and then I mean, maybe AJ's in there as the 4th, like AJ, Rollins, Roman, and Cody. I think that would be. Like if I had to pick the top 4 in the company right now, that'd probably be my pick. Or I mean, Finn might be there too, though, because let's remember Finn's pretty. They just got like he gets these great like edge moments, and then he's got to wrestle these ridiculous 6-mans because he's stuck in that group. I don't like Judgment Day Finn Balor. I love Finn Balor. I just don't love Judgment Day Finn Balor because we get tag matches and
it's that classic. You've been to the mountaintop. Now we need you to bring some young guys with you around for a while.
Yeah,
everybody's done it. Angle, Edge with the Edge heads. It's just another way to make a few more people while he's hanging out in the second tier. But
now to go back to your point, though, I will admit I was one of the fans who was upset after Cody lost at Mania, but I think the reason is this, and it's a viewpoint that I think a lot of fans don't think of. They did too good of a job. That's why we were all upset. Because it was built perfectly. Think about it.
Mm-hmm.
The prodigal son returns from injury, wins the Royal Rumble, heads to WrestleMania. He's going to write his story. He's going to define his moment. He's going to make his mark. He's going to live up to his brother and his father and his family. And here it is. And this is it. And he's got the weight belt with every company that was there for him when nobody was there for him. And the big company didn't want to give him the accolades and didn't want to believe in him. And, a reminder that he cut his own path. And, it was just perfectly done.
Mm-hmm.
And then the hero died. And you went, and I think the thing that I thought is, I think what a lot of wrestling fans thought, which I think led to a lot of the, oh my God, what the heck? Because let's be honest, the internet broke when he lost. Like just like Becky with Bianca, like the internet broke. Like everybody was up in arms. It's the worst thing since sliced bread. It's the terrible. It's the most terrible day ever.
You forgot to blame Vince in that sentence.
Yes, it's all Vince. It's all Hunter doesn't know what he's doing, or Vince took over the book, or
it's every time something they don't like.
Yeah, but now you look at it, and with time removed and time has passed, the very next thing he does is become one of 7 men to beat Brock Lesnar in the last 20 years on a pay-per-view. That's pretty. Since Brock's original run when he left in 03-04, like ever since he came back to now, he's lost to 7 men on a pay-per-view, 7 or 8. That's insane. So like, and everybody's like, they're burying Cody. He gets why? Because because they had to feed him to Brock, so he wanted to fight Brock.
Yeah.
like everybody, like you said, everybody wants it right now. But you see the moments that we get, like you're saying. Think about how epic it would be if Cody went and won the Rumble 2 years in a row. He went because now think about it. Now you're in Shawn Michaels, Hulk Hogan, and Stone Cold Steve Austin era. Now you're in the upper echelons of holy crap, And then he wins it this time. And this time, not only does he win it, This time he learns from his past mistakes. It's all a story about learning from the past and knowing not what to do and being ready this time. And I mean, just think about it. The tagline for the next one will just be now or never, because this is it.
Yep.
This is
I
the
mean, we
one.
just basically produced a movie and a documentary. They're
Yep.
going to have all that beautiful footage of him losing, and he can talk about how it made him hungrier, stronger. But, the average fan on the internet, well, I didn't get my way, so I'm going to complain. And then the other classic line I love they use on the internet whenever they're on the boards is, this is the reason I don't watch wrestling anymore. It says, why are you here then? Like, why
Do you
are
know
you
why
coming
I
on?
always hate that? I hate that line because it's them admitting to lying.
Yep.
This is why I don't watch wrestling anymore. Then how do you know this happened?
Yep. Why are
You
you on
went
this
online.
specific message board?
Don't even if you went on YouTube, but don't sit here and tell me you didn't go online and go do.
Yep.
Watch. Still watching wrestling, buddy. Just because you don't turn on Monday Night Raw on your television doesn't mean you don't watch wrestling. I always find that funny, but the Longbirds are the best. I found that in the independents too.
Mm-hmm.
I just worked Quinn Whittick for the second time in our careers in April this last month when we did our Honor Bound show in Appleton, and we hadn't touched in 16 months on purpose. And the last time we fought was for the world title. And the second time we fought is for the world title. But this time now everything's on the line. My battle championship was on the line. His world title's on the line. Last man standing. Winner takes all. So we've upped the ante from the first one. And then in between there, you have sandwiched an awesome tag team match with him and Skylar against me and Gavin for the tag titles in a cage. And
Nice.
you have these three huge moments, but the long burn is the best one because it's like Quinn wins the first championship match. Ben wins the second championship match, but it's a tag, but he still does. And then Quinn takes everything in the third one. There's still unfinished business, but there's so much time to do it in, and it's more rewarding when you get that, because when you get them and they get to that point and they follow you for that length of the story, it's huge. And I feel that from the business standpoint now, but as a fan, it's what I'm always looking for. Like the most important thing about all of this is being a fan, because if I don't know, like from a business standpoint, if I don't know what you like, that's a problem, because you matter, because you're paying your money to come to my show and watch what I'm doing. And more importantly than that, you're giving me something you can never get back, which is your time. So now I have to go and earn your time. And anybody show that you go to should all have the exact same mindset. They should want to earn your time every single time, because you could be anywhere else in the world, but you decided to come and watch my show, And so I always try to think of it from a fan's perspective, and being one has always helped. Being a big old nerd has always been great, and been a good thing. Man. So this has been the funnest. Honest to God, this has been one of the funnest podcasts I've ever done. I love.
Yeah, we're going to get you on here for a couple parts because we still got a lot to dive in with you here. But I want to touch on that point before we kind of wrap this up here. I don't like to go too long, but what you said there, this is where I'm going to catch a lot of shit from a lot of my friends and the UFC people out there, is these marquee fights. This is where I like to throw it right back at some of these people. It's like, how is it always that the first one goes to one guy? The second one always goes to a second guy. And then it's like, oh, we got the big payoff here.
Yeah.
And, it's just like, not saying it's fake or rigged, but sometimes it just makes me wonder that how all of these Conor McGregor fights or these Forrest Griffin or, Randy Couture, it's just like, how is there always a third one? You know what I mean? So, so don't come at us wrestling fans too, crazy, but yeah.
The only person I can't say that about was Matt Hughes. I got to meet him when I lived in Texas.
What a great guy! Yes,
Matt Hughes is a bad mother jammer. That's a gangster right there. He was a great dude to meet and talk to, and but like I agree with you that I find it funny that people always talk about how the trilogies. I'll catch shit with you on the internet. You ready? I find it very ironic that Muhammad Ali always seemed to lose at the most opportune moments when there was just seemed to be nobody left that could possibly touch him. And miraculously, Joe Frazier shows up, just completely out of the blue. And, they have one of the most epic trilogies of all time. And then, that's just followed by George Foreman accidentally, just they just fell right into George Foreman. And, I mean, you could go back with a lot of that stuff. I find it funny though that like UFC people are getting mad about UFC now with just the merger, because that one UFC guy came up and like challenged the other to do a fight after he had just won one, and it was very WWE-esque, where like
Yep.
so it was like the guy came out to do the challenge and interrupted the other guy in the promo kind of thing. And
There's always a peacock in the room.
yeah, there's always a peacock in the room.
Well, before we wrap this up and go too long, let's share those socials. Let's promote your promotion as well, and definitely we'll have to schedule a part 2 to get you on here, and then we'll get you on with your day here, Ben.
Absolutely. My daycare and my dogs and my kids and everything else running around in this house. I
celebrate that wife of yours on Mother's Day too. There, so
yeah. Well, my wife is a bingo caller at the Potawatomi Casino in Milwaukee. Shout out to my wife, Crystal. She's awesome, and she's actually bingo calling right now today. So we had Mother's Day like yesterday with the whole family and everything. So we kind of did it a little early. But yeah, she's great. As far as socials go, please follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Frontline Pro and Frontline Pro 1. You can also catch us on Premier Streaming Network, which is now owned by Freddie Prinze Jr. And you can check us out there. We have 5 shows up at the moment. And Happy, you want a world premiere here? I'll even say it before I put it on the internet.
Do it up.
Just for having me on. We just did our biggest show ever called Honor Bound a few weeks back. We had Billy Gunn, Vampiro, Tatanka, and Brian Pillman Jr. all come in and do this great show for us. Gilbert Brown of the Green Bay Packers showed up.
Love Gilbert Brown. Yep.
Proud for us. Dude, Gilbert Brown stayed for the whole show. It was awesome. Great dude. And so you can come check this out on Premier Streaming Network, because we will be dropping it this week by no later than Friday. That's Friday this upcoming week, Honor Bound 2023. And then as a special extra treat, we went through the vault and we found Honor Bound #1, the first ever show we ever did back in 2018. And that's going to be released in June as well. Perfect. 2 new things coming up. We're filming more stuff for the year. And then anybody who wants to watch us, please check out Premier Streaming. It's $4.99. And you can chronologically watch our wrestling like you do WWE or anything else. We got commentary and editing and everything. The whole bells and whistles of Hollywood magic have been used. And you can check it out there. But that's the most important stuff. As far as following me, don't follow me. Follow my son, Gavin McCoy, on all his socials. My wife, Crystal, on all of her stuff. I'm just kind of trying to fade into the background and be Oz, the great and powerful, turning the wheels behind the curtain. But yeah, and thank you for having me. This was honestly one of the funnest podcasts I've had in a long time. It's fun to talk about the fan stuff because
it is.
So keep doing these. You're a good dude for doing these.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So I'm sure hopefully next year after my second ceremony, Randy, take a shot. We can link up at one of your shows, maybe do a vendor table, hand out some stickers and talk off, camera some more. But, I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity and being a friend of the Squared Circle. So
absolutely. Take care. Thank you so much.
All right. Appreciate it. Hang on in the lounge and we'll talk right after this little video package here.
Sounds good.
Alrighty. All right, friends, that is another episode of Friends of the Squared Circle, where I'm your host, Crander Q here. And just to keep it short and sweet, thanks for watching. And don't forget to follow us on all social medias. And we'll see you next time. Hey, friends, thanks for tuning in to yet another exciting episode of Friends of the Squared Circle, where I'm your host, Crander Q, a.k.a. my real name. Now let's jump into those sponsors, shall we? Make sure to check out ChefKeithFoods.com for all of your salsa needs. The best made fresh since 2019. Flavors include Ragin' Reaper, Hoppin' Habanero, Groovy Garden, and more. Check out that website today. Also, check out our friends over at Superior Creations for all of your custom tumbler needs. They are on Facebook.com/Superior Creations MN. Also, Darren Corbin, give him a like on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok. Yes, Darren Corbin is on TikTok. And another great way to support Darren is by checking out patreon.com/Darren Corbin, where tiers start at just $1. Last but not least, make sure you give us a like and follow on all of our social medias as well. We want to thank you for being a friend of the Squared Circle. Tune in for more episodes. Also, if you want to get merch for yourself, you can check out friendsofthesquaredcircle.org for all of those needs. And it's your boy, Crander Q. Crander Q out.